Hey everyone, welcome back to another video of mine in which we discuss Business Central once again. Today we're going to be talking about electronic fund transfers. So we're going to discuss how we can actually configure electronic fund transfers. And basically electronic fund transfers are a transfer of money from one bank to another, either within a single financial institution or across multiple institutions. So a lot of time clients would actually come and ask us to generate EFT files from their journal lines, and it will be a TXT file that gets sent to the bank and they process that. So in order to configure Business Central for EFT file, you'll have to first go to bank accounts, and for now you should have a bank account configured. If you don't, then you're going to have to create a new bank account, or you can go to my other videos to discuss and check how you can create a bank account, but it's very easy. Just click on new. So we're going to go to checking, and in here is where you start configuring, so that your first step to configure bank accounts for EFT files. Under transfer, you're going to specify the export format. So for me it's Canada, so I have selected CA. There's also US and other countries associated with it. The export file name, I selected as EFT_06, but you can select anything that you like as long as your client is okay with it. The client number is also needs to be present. The client name has to be there, so I have actually just made a random number 123 and put myself as a client name. The transit number has to be present. IBAN doesn't need to be there unless they actually deal with the international companies, not just domestic. So in my case, this was already configured. I have placed it in there just for my future videos. The import is something that you don't really need to matter at this stage, because we will not be getting any bank statements and importing it into Business Central. But the export format should be CA EFT default, at least for Canada. There are other options that are available that you can select from, and you can read about it. So by selecting this is your first step for configuration. Now we will go to vendors, because vendors are the ones who will be receiving money, so we need to make sure that they're also configured in order to get or receive money automatically from one bank to another. So when you go to one of the vendors, and I have selected Fabricam Inc., we can go down into their payments. So you just have to make sure that these guys are not set up for a check. So in the payment method code, you should select bank, but there's also different payment method codes that you can have for this vendor. And at some point when I was configuring this, it was check, so I had to change it. So change it to the bank. After that, we will go into the actual bank account, or bank card you could say. So that is under navigation, click vendor and bank accounts. So that's the bank account that you should have set it up already for your vendor. And click on the bank account. In here you should have all this information configured already. This is just a dummy information that I had received from Microsoft as I put the test trial version. And this is the main important thing. So you have to select use for electronic payment. So make sure that this is selected, otherwise you will get an error once you start generating the EFT file. So that is pretty much it for an EFT. Now I should show you how you can actually generate an EFT file and how it should look like. So I have this bookmarked, payment journals, and already I have something that is here as a batch name. If you don't have the EFT batch, then you should create one. Because for me, I was under cash. That's the standard one that comes with it. But for your client, they would need another batch so they can have so they can take care of their journals accordingly. So create a new batch called EFT. Give it a description. Make sure the balance account type is bank account, and the balance account number is the bank that will be sending money. And the last thing that you need to know is the number series that we had already discussed in my previous video, so do have a look at that and what that means. but these two options should be checked off: the copy VAT setup and allow payment export. So these two needs to be present and checked off. So just press OK, and let's start with an EFT. So we're gonna go replicate almost what I already had. So I'm gonna select Fabricam again, their bank account. Let's see, what else do we need? That is not auto-populated. So the amount for sure that we can have. The bank account to checking, that's auto-populated, and make sure that the bank payment type is electronic payment, not check or anything like that. So make sure you select that, otherwise it will not process and you'll get an error. Now you have to go to bank and you export. This is what it should show up. So the thing that I need to advise you on is, before you actually generate an EFT file, you have to create a remittance advice, and this is what we've created at this point. So if I press OK, it should create a remittance advice, and it comes in a PDF file. So if you look at this, or you should save it at least, or your client should save it, this is how a remittance advice looks like. So for us to actually generate an EFT file, a remittance advice needs to be there, and then it looks like it's taking a little bit of time on my end to actually produce one, but that is okay. It should pop up as a PDF. We'll go back, and now we will generate an EFT. So you're going to click Actions, Functions, and generate an EFT file. The window should show up, and this will generate an EFT file for this particular vendor for the amount of $25.25, and the bank account is checking. So you're going to click on Generate EFT File, and as you can see, this file is sort of like a function, or it doesn't really have an extension associated with it, but that doesn't matter. You can save this file, open it with Notepad, and it should be okay from there. So let's see if we can open it up in the Notepad before we are done with this video. So there you go. So this is the standard configuration. So this is basically an RBC for Royal Bank Canada. For at least for our purposes, Royal Bank Canada accepts this kind of an EFT file. There are banks that have a specific layout for their EFTs, and which is what you need to introduce developers. In that case, if your client actually has a bank account that is very specific with their EFT files and you need to generate them using Business Central, then you need a developer who is going to go into the Visual Studio Code, and he will program according to the requirements that is given by the bank, which is something that we will discuss at some point, because I am working on a project to generate an EFT file for a specific bank for one of my clients. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and next video we will talk about checks.